and welcome to our next edition of Cooking with Michael. I want to take a quick moment to thank our guest chef last week, Fred. Did a fantastic job. That panko encrusted chicken was amazing. My date night loved it. I hope you got a chance to try it at home, and I hope you had great success for as well. I also want to thank all of you who sent me text messages and emails wishing me a happy 10th anniversary. It was a phenomenal weekend, a great weekend, and we had a great time. So here we are for our next episode, and we're going to do something great tonight. Tonight we're going to do a rolled stuffed pork tenderloin. Very easy. Sounds very difficult. I'm going to show you how easy it is. One of the things that I wanted to take a moment and talk about was a lot of the dishes we see that you see that we're doing on here. People get nervous about. They hear homemade crab cakes we've done before, the chicken that we did last week, rainbow trout, what have you. People are thinking there's a lot of work involved in it, and I hope you're seeing there really isn't. There's steps to it, but it really isn't that hard to make. A lot of times you see things on menus, which we'll be doing down the road, Cornish game hen, different types of steaks and things like that. People get very nervous about making. And what I'm hoping to do is to show you that it's not hard to make at home, less expensive, and you can spend time at home with your loved one without having to go out and spend a ton of money. And when you're at home, you can actually have a nice conversation as well. Yes, there are times that it's great to go out, but when you can't, especially in these times right now, there's still some concern about whether or not to go out. You have to wear the masks, that kind of thing. Right now, best thing we can do is eat at home and spend some time with our loved ones. So that's what these are about. So I hope that you're realizing that what we're showing you is not hard to make. And tonight's going to be no exception. Tonight we're going to do something great. Again, a stuffed pork tenderloin, which will be fantastic when it's all done. And on the side, we're just going to have a quick spinach salad. So nothing real hard. Again, quick, easy, and we'll get it going. So before we start, I did already preheat my oven to 375 to kind of get started. So if you're going to do this at home, the oven is preset to 375. That's where it needs to be preheated for the pork. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get the pork ready to roll. And then we're going to make the stuffing that goes inside, which will take not a whole lot of different ingredients. It's going to be some panko crumbs and different spices and some seasonings and things like that. Real easy, and put it all together, roll it up. We're going to use, for the first time, we're going to use food twine to tie up the roast so we can cook it. And I'll show you that as well. So sit back, enjoy. I hope you love this episode. I'm looking really forward to showing you how we do it. Enjoy. I'm going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll show you the first step, and that's making the pork. Okay, and we're back. So what I've done here is I've gotten ready to show you how we're doing this. What I've got is about just under 2 pounds of pork tenderloin. Again, if you've watched my shows before, you know that I get all of my fresh meat, my fresh fish, all from the same place. And we went and got ourselves a fresh pork tenderloin. Again, just shy of 2 pounds, which is perfect for what we're trying to accomplish. So, real simple. So I got my cutting board, I've got the pork tenderloin. You also want to get ready your meat tenderizer, okay? This is actually a special kind of tool. It's got two sides to it. It's got for the tenderizing part when you're doing steaks and chicken and whatnot. And then if you're just trying to flatten, which we're actually going to be doing, we're not really tenderizing the pork, we're just trying to flatten it, you've got the flat part of the hammer. If you've got kids like me, they ran around chasing each other with this today, because I just got this one today and I had to stop them before they killed each other with it. So, remember, not a toy. However, it is kind of fun to think about. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm going to put that aside for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out my knife, okay? So I'm just going to use a regular knife, and to do this, it's going to be just a couple things here, a couple cuts. So what you want to do is just take it right in the center and cut it down the center this way. And you want to cut it till it's about a ½ an inch from the bottom, because what you really don't want to do is you don't want to go all the way through. The whole idea is to try and keep this all one piece and flatten it out, okay? So I'm going to just take this and I'm going to cut
And you want to make sure that you have a very good, solid, sharp knife to make it work. You can see, there we go. I'm going to open it up. We still have a good part down here. If it's not sharp enough, you do want to sharpen it because the sharper the better. So I'm going to take, then I'm going to go and I'm going to take on the angle, and I'm going to cut on the angle down again to open it up. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Probably shouldn't put my hand there because one slip of the knife and it's all over for me. Or at least all over for this episode while I go to the hospital. So now what I've got, as you can see, I've got basically an open pork tenderloin. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hammer, my tenderizer, okay, and I'm basically just going to pound this down to flat, okay? So I'm going to just basically pound it down to flat. And this will take a little while. This is not going to be something that's going to be quick. But if you do it nicely, it'll go pretty nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this while I continue to pound this out and show you what it looks like when we're all done. All right, I'm not quite done yet, but I want to show you that I did have to turn it around a little bit because as you pound it and it gets thinner, it gets bigger. So you can see it's now thinner than what it is. This is the unpounded. This is the pounded. We're actually going to pound this down some more. Okay. So far, this has taken just a couple minutes, and I'll tell you the exact amount of time it took me to do this when I'm all done. So just sit tight a second. I'm going to pause this again. All right, we're done with the pounding. I'm going to tell you the whole pounding took about 5 minutes. You can see it's nice thin around there. And if you want to make sure it's good, you just kind of roll it up, because you're going to be doing that anyway. You roll it up, and this is what it should look like, actually, nice and rolled, before you put the stuffing in. Then you can unroll it. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of put this aside, because next thing I'm going to do is make the interior stuffing. Again, you're going to find that this is actually pretty easy to do. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to get the stuffing ingredients started, and I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. I've gone ahead and I've moved the pork tenderloin to another counter where it's going to sit until we make the stuffing that we're going to put on there. So to make it real simple, we're going to start off with Panko crispy breadcrumbs, plain. Same things we used last week, actually, for the chicken. So just as you can see, the Panko crispy plain. We're going to use basically about a third of a cup. So I'm going to grab my cup, my third cup measuring cup. Okay, I'm going to take the Panko breadcrumbs, and I'm basically just going to actually put a little more than a third of a cup in. I'm just going to take it and dump it in there, just a little more, actually. Okay, and it's a little more than a third of a cup. I'm going to take that. Then I'm going to take my garlic. Garlic, you know, a lot of recipes call for fresh garlic, but what I do is I use the minced garlic because it's easier. It does what it needs to do, and it's basically the same thing, and it takes a lot less time than having to cut up and mince your fresh garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my garlic. Now, if you're using the minced garlic from a jar, basically what it is a half a teaspoon equals 1 clove. So since we want to do 3 cloves, we're going to use basically a teaspoon and a half. So there's 1. It's 1/2. There's 2 halves, and there's 3 halves. Okay, so that equals 3 cloves of garlic. Okay, put that aside for right now. Now the rest of the stuff is going to be kind of mostly to taste. Okay, so we're going to use some fresh parsley. Now again, fresh parsley is in my house isn't going to happen because I don't use it enough. So I'm going to use my Parsly Flakes. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to open it up, and the recipe typically calls for a good amount of parsley, a half a bunch of parsley chopped. I'm going to use probably maybe a quarter cup, maybe not even a little less than that. So I'm going to take my quarter cup measuring. I'm going to put probably a little less than the quarter cup in there. Okay, maybe half of that, something like that. Okay, and I'm going to put it in there. Okay. Then I'm going to take cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper from Aldi. Again, those of you who watch, I do mention Aldi pretty much every time. I get all of my stuff from Aldi. That's not the fresh meats, of course. So, and again, I want to thank for those of you who out there from the PR wings of different companies who have started to watch and subscribe. So I do appreciate that. And I appreciate those of you in the Aldi world who are also enjoying the video. So thanks so much. But I'm going to take cayenne pepper. I'm really going to do just a pinch, okay? So, because this stuff is hot. So I'm just going to open it up. And I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit. Just a pinch. And that's good, okay? And now I'm going to take an egg. I'm going to take one egg. Okay? Just got my last egg here from this batch. And I'm going to put an egg in there, okay? Real simple, real easy. Put the egg shell in the sink. I'm then going to take Italian seasoning. Now, we talk a lot about making sure one seasoning doesn't overpower another seasoning. And it's the same thing here, okay? You definitely want to make sure that you are putting enough seasoning for taste because, again, this is going to be a stuffing. As opposed to using the box stuffings, which you can use, but this is a little more fun and a little more tasty. So I'm going to take some of my Italian seasoning, and I'm going to do less than I did for the parsley. So I'm going to take my 1/4 cup measuring cup, and I'm going to do even less than half of that. So, because this stuff actually is pretty powerful. So I'm going to take that, as you can see in there, I'm going to pour it in, okay? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take olive oil. You want to put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in. As you know, I don't typically measure a whole lot, so I'm just going to pour some olive oil in there. It looks about 2 tablespoons. Okay. And then I'm going to take pepper, just a pepper grinder, and I'm going to salt and pepper to taste. Okay. So I'm going to, typically the recipe calls for like 1.5 teaspoons of pepper, but it really is salt and pepper to taste. So I'm going to do the same thing with the salt. Salt typically calls for like 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm going to salt and pepper to taste. I think if you watched our video last week, Fred said it great. We're giving you the blueprint of what to make, but you also have to know your audience. So if you have audiences that may or may not be able to eat a lot of salt or things like that, you may want to roll back on that and maybe have them salt a little afterwards. But that's pretty much where we're at right now with the seasonings. Okay. And we'll salt and pepper a little bit more to taste in a minute. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a fork and I'm just going to mix it up. Okay? So all I'm doing is mix up until it's nice and mixed. Okay? And it smells really good. See, as I'm stirring it up here, it's all coming together as a nice mixture. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is, actually move this out of the way and this out of the way. What I'm going to do is I am going to move this aside for just a moment. I'm going to bring back the pork. There is the pork, okay? And all I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to take the seasoning or the stuffing that I just made, and it's not a lot, because again, you don't want to overpower the pork either. And I'm going to just put it on the pork, okay? And if you find that maybe the pork was a little more than what than what it has, and you have to make more, you certainly can do that. As you saw how easy it was to make the breadcrumb or the stuffing inside. It's not a real hard thing to do, but you want to try and spread it out. You don't want it real thick in spaces, okay? So I'm going to do that. And actually, it looks like I may need to make a little more stuffing for this. So I'm going to pause, and I'm going to make just a little more stuffing, and then I'll be right back, and we'll show you how we finish this next part up. Okay, so I did finish up. I made a little bit more of the filling there. So I'm just kind of filling in a little bit of the holes and making it kind of even the best I can throughout the pork. And if you heard just now, my dog Phoebe, who has been a regular on the episodes, has just made her way into the kitchen because she heard the food being made and she thought it was, hers. It's not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my string, okay? And I'm going to get myself a pair of scissors. Sorry about that. Give myself a pair of scissors and get ready to wrap up the pork. So all I'm going to do is just literally just take it and I'm going to roll it. Just like that. Okay? And you can see, I'm going to show you what it looks like inside. It's rolled up. Okay? I'm going to sit it on there and I'm going to take my string, lift this up, and I'm basically just going to tie down the meat. Okay, and I'm going to take more string and I'm going to tie it down. You want to use, really any string will work, except it's got to be cotton, straight up cotton, 100%. You can't use any synthetic. The synthetic will burn. Okay, so you know, they do make cooking twine, but it's basically the same thing as you get in a hardware store for any kind of twine, as long as, again, it is in fact 100% cotton, because that is what is not going to burn, and that is what you want to use. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to tie it off here. Tie it nice and tight. Tie these two pieces together. Really, you're just going to put it in a knot here, because when you go to finish this up, you're going to take it out. You know, basically cut the string. So that's how it's all nicely strung together. There is my meat. Okay. Now, next step, and I'm going to have to move the camera here in a minute, but the next step will be we're going to do a very quick searing in a skillet with olive oil, and then after that, we're going to put it in the oven for about 45 minutes. Okay. The recipe does call for pork to be slightly rare in the center. That's a choice that you can make. I like to have it white all the way through. A little bit of pink on pork nowadays is not going to hurt you, but it's got to be a very small amount of pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get ready to move this over, and I'll show you when we get for the skillet, and we'll go from there. All right, and we're back. I got my skillet here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the burner, put it on about medium, and then I'm going to put just a little bit of olive oil in the pan, or in the skillet. We're going to do that. We're almost out of olive oil. It's almost time to get more olive oil. I have to do that. Looks like Aldi. Here I come. So I'm going to let that heat up. And again, when you do this, it's going to be a very quick 3 to 4 minute total. So what you're going to do is put it in and you're going to roll it, okay? And what you want to do is get a nice little brown covering on the outside, okay? What it does is it basically sears the outside, keeps the juices in when it's cooking in the oven. Because we're going to be roasting it, which will give it some juice also, but you don't want it to dry out in the oven. And this way, it does sear in a little bit of the juices, which is nice. So if you've watched before, you do know that this does heat up pretty quickly. While I'm doing that, I'm going to get out my basically my Pyrex dish. Okay, hey, maybe Pyrex will sponsor me too. That'd be kind of cool. I can get Pyrex in there as well. So Pyrex all in, but I have a whole bunch. Now if I can just get over 100 viewers, it'd be great. So, but we're getting there, and that's what I'm hoping you guys are going to help me with. So this is actually starting to already heat up. So I'm going to do what I normally do and just try and coat the bottom of the pan with the oil, make it nice and hot. And then when it does that, we'll put it in, and we'll just basically, like I said, roll in the oil, get a nice brownness to it, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to pause this real quick while that's heating up, and then I'll be right back. And by the way, while I'm still waiting for that to cook, I want to make sure that you didn't, that you thought that I didn't forget, or make sure you knew that I didn't forget, Pinot Grigio. That's right. It's not a Cooking with Michael show unless we have Pinot Grigio. So again, thanks to my wine guy, Andrew, who hooked me up. I'm going to take my sip while this is cooking. I didn't want you to think I forgot, like I said, so I do apologize for not putting that sooner. I was actually kind of excited about this dish because I haven't done this in a very long time. So anyway, so I'm back here. It looks like it's getting thin, which is good, and getting nice and hot. Now again, how we check, we go to the sink, get a little bit of water off the faucet, and it's not yet there yet because you'll hear that sizzle. When it sizzles, you know it's ready to go. So I'm going to take another sip of my wine while I'm waiting. And continue to let that heat up. All right, I think we're just about there. So a little bit of sizzling, that's good. If you didn't realize, you didn't catch it, I did pause this real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach over. I'm going to take the pork loin, and you can hear it sizzle. Okay. And I'm just going to roll it. Again, you want to do a max of 3 to 4 minutes in here, just long enough to get a nice, crispy, seared. Okay, you can see it's white there, white brown. What you're really just trying to do is get a nice little coating on the outside. Okay, so let it sit there for a minute while it's doing that. Take my Pinot Grigio. We will be, just so you know, getting to a point where we are, we're going to do a quick video with my wine guy so you can see how we pick out the wines and whatnot. So I'm going to get with him here shortly, not today, but in one of our upcoming videos and get that taken care of. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on the side. Okay. And that string really holds it together, of course. The whole idea of food twine is to keep that, so I can roll it around and it stays rolled. And also, when you cook it, it stays rolled as opposed to opening up. Because again, you want it to be all together. So when you cut it, it'll be a roll, basically a pork tenderloin log, so to speak. Okay. Take this. Roll onto that last side there. So you can see a few brown spots are showing up there. I know it's kind of whitewashed out. I do apologize for that. Still working on the lighting issues, but I think we're getting a little better. So, so that's it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put the roll side down. So, and when I say about roll side down, I'm talking about the opening. Even though it's tied, you still want to put the opening where the last two pieces come together. You want to put that down. So I put it into the Pyrex dish. Okay, and that's what it looks like. See a little bit of brown spots, mostly white though. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to stick it in my already preheated oven for about 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 45 minutes. I'm going to take a step back and start. I'm going to take a step back, have a couple of glasses of Pinot Grigio while I'm waiting, and then we'll be back in just a moment, your time, when it's been 45 minutes so you can see what it looks like. All right? Sit tight. Thanks. Hope you're enjoying it, and we'll be right back. Okay. We're still got about 15 minutes or so before the pork is done in the oven. What I'm going to do now is, and I'm not going to change the camera angle to show you, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, about 15 minutes ago, put a little bit of salt and pepper on top of the pork tenderloin as it's cooking inside the oven. Obviously, I'll take it out a little bit and do it so I don't burn myself. I learned it the hard way, by the way. So anyway, so I'm going to do that just so you know. I want to make sure you knew that. A little bit of salt and pepper on top of it to taste. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then we'll be back and we will go for the next round of what happens after we take it out of the oven. All right? Thanks so much. Okay, we're back. We got about a minute left to go before it comes out of the oven, so I'm going to show you what that looks like when I bring it out. First things first, I'm getting my dinner plate ready. As I told you, pretty quick and easy. Just going to do a little bit of a spinach salad. Nothing really, great to it. Spinach, some olives, a little bit of bacon bits, and some croutons. That's pretty much how we do the spinach salad around here. So I'm going to put this aside for the moment, put it over here, and hopefully my cat, which is sitting over in the corner, doesn't touch it. But when this goes off in about 15 seconds, I'm going to take it out of the oven, and then I'm going to move it over to a plate where I can cut it, and we'll go from there, and then I'll taste it, and we'll see what it's like, okay? So we have 4 seconds left to go. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually going to step out of frame for a moment. And I'm going to, and there it is. So I'm going to pull out of the oven just a moment. I'm going to adjust this. All right. Let me get this out of the oven. Oops, let me turn off the timer. Get this out of the oven. All right, just to show you what it looks like, you can see nice and brown, phenomenal looking rolled pork. Now, take this out of the, put it right there. Now, what I can do is I can cut these strings off if I want. It may make it pop open. It shouldn't, but I'm not going to cut it open just yet. I'm going to just cut off a side of it, my fork and my bigger knife, and I'm going to take, because basically I'm just going to cut down basically a slice of it, and you can see what it looks like from there. You can see it's actually, I'll bring it up to the, you can see it's actually just rolled in there, which is nice. And I will take this off. I'm going to move the camera back up because, as you know, hi there. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to taste it, so I'm going to cut a little bit off of it. Just a little bit off, and I'm going to taste it, and it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So that's it. That's how easy it is. The whole dish took about, from start to finish, about 45 minutes. From the time of preparing the meat to cooking, I'm sorry, for not 45 minutes, it took 45 minutes to cook it. The whole dish took just under an hour from preparing the meat, doing the salad, all that kind of stuff. So just under an hour to get a nice, perfectly cooked pork tenderloin that's stuffed. So fantastic, easy, fairly quick. My loved one is still upstairs with the boys, putting the boys to bed, you know, reading stories, that kind of thing. So I did have some time, which is fantastic. Other than that, we're all good. So I certainly hope you'll give us a try. I hope you enjoyed watching it tonight. I hope that you will subscribe if you haven't already. If you know anybody who would enjoy it, please, please, please pass us on, and would love to have more subscribers and more people watching. Again, as I always say, the more subscribers, the more we can do, the more fun we can have. Coming up in the next couple weeks, we've got some great things. We've got Halloween next weekend. We've also got an election coming up too. So, not getting political, but we're going to do some different things to show how you can kind of have some fun and enjoy, and all about the good food too. So, thank you again for watching. I very much enjoy each and every one of you who tune in and watch. I love seeing the comments. I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you again. Hope you have a great date night, and I will see you next time on Cooking with Michael. Have a great evening, everyone.